Hey guys, today I want to talk about what it feels like growing older. So, it's been a couple days since I've uploaded a video. I've actually been focusing a little bit more on music lately, so I have one composition that I am pretty close to being done with, and I'm pretty excited about getting that out there. But anyways, that's where my focus has been these last couple weeks. A lot of hours have gone into that, so hopefully I should have that available maybe this week. So um, yeah, hopefully you guys get a chance to test that out, listen to it, give me some feedback, and let me know what you think. But anyways, today I want to talk about what it feels like growing older. So, I am 26 years of age. I guess you could say, I've been around for a little while, and looking back on my life, I can see these different transitions through life, different transitions physically, mentally, and I before I was wondering what it feels like for people getting into midlife crisis. So of course maybe I'm a little bit off what my midlife is, and of course that's something that we don't really know what midpoint of our life is going to be. But I guess we have this little idea that it's perhaps 50, 40, something on up in those ages. But anyways, that aside, these sort of things that I've wondered about before, and of course, the younger you are, the less you sort of think about them, or the less they weigh in. But as I grow older, these things, they come to mind a little bit more. They come to mind a little bit more. So, I want to talk about my experience, what my experience has been like getting up to this age. Some different mindsets, some transitions that I've experienced through life, and really, it's sort of in general what how of course, if you're younger than I am, then perhaps you haven't reached these thoughts yet. But if you are, then perhaps you have. But I want to talk a little bit about how that journey has been for me up until this point. So, of course, when you're younger, you're not so much worried about physical things. You're jumping off of stadium bleachers, or you're jumping off of things, and you land on the ground. You may scratch your leg or something like that, but you're fine. You don't worry about aches and all that sort of stuff. And when you're young, you of course you're in a lot better physical shape for this sort of thing. But one of the things I've noticed now is that when it comes to sort of risk like that, I tend to try to avoid that. I tend to try to avoid that, because as you grow older, you're gonna start feeling those aches a little bit more. You're gonna start feeling those the consequences of the things that you were doing before, the things that you did weeks ago. You bump your leg, that's gonna hurt perhaps a little bit longer. You start feeling this stuff a little bit more. Now someone may say, "Oh, you're only 26. You should be in perfect condition and all this sort of stuff." I don't know what the biology is, or what age do we really start to degrade physically. But I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape. But at the same time, I have noticed that as I've grown older, those sorts of things, they bother you a little bit more. I used to hear my mom talk about this all the time, about how she bumped her knee or did something when she was very young in age, when she was in her teenage years, and up to this day, she will say that still bothers her to a certain point. So you start to get a little bit more careful about yourself physically. You start to try to be a little bit more careful about your health. Actually, recently is when I've just started. So a little story here. I've been trying to gain weight for several years. When I was in high school, when I graduated high school, I probably weighed about anywhere between 135 to 140 pounds. Very skinny, not that muscular or anything like that. And since then, I have been trying to put on weight. I have been trying massively put on weight, trying all sorts of proteins. Eating a lot of things. I was that person that could literally tell anyone I can eat whatever I want and I still won't put on weight. And a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I'm jealous because of that," or I'm the exact opposite. I eat a little bit and I put on a lot of weight. No, but me, I could eat a lot of things and could barely put on weight. And I thought that was a great thing before, but then I realized, perhaps a year or so ago, that, dude, even though you were eating all these things, you were putting a lot of garbage in yourself. You was putting a lot of unhealthy things in yourself. When I was in college, and my last semester of college, which was fall 2014, I felt like I was in, or maybe the year before, somewhere between that time frame, between 2013 fall and fall 2014, I was in the best shape that I've ever been in. And it's crazy to say that, because I was eating a lot of of course, during those years when you don't have that much money, you're trying to get by. You're trying to eat whatever you can, save money wherever you can. So I was eating a lot of dollar menu, and then at some point I just started going through the cafeteria, Of course, it was food that we were paying for in our tuition and all that sort of stuff. Uh, it was stuff that we were paying for. I didn't like it before because I didn't go there before because I was a little bit, I don't want to say antisocial, but I kind of wanted to avoid larger crowds, and I felt weird going in there by myself, amongst a bunch of other people, especially around the time of the day, when people are going to get dinner. But I felt weird in those crowded environments in college, so I avoided that. I would try to go somewhere else. So I was eating a lot of dollar meat. But anyway, my last semester, I was like, what, bump this. I'm just gonna go in here and eat. So I was eating a lot of burgers and fries and pizza even in there. But for some reason, I was still able to be in pretty good physical condition. And I worked out a lot between classes, especially around noon. I did a lot of biking. Sometimes when I get done with classes for the day, I would go out and bike trails for maybe at least 3 hours. I'd probably start off on a trail, and that's the thing where I went to the college. It was in a pretty smaller town, not a huge area. And that's the thing that you got out there. You got lakes, you got trails, you got little nature trails and things like that, which were very great. And I used to spend a lot of time out there, but that's the topic for another video. But anyways, I used to do a lot of that. When I leave those trails and get a little bit darker, I would come out and bike around campus. I think the loop around our campus was maybe 1.5 to 2 miles, or maybe it was a little bit more. But I would spend another 2 or 3 hours biking around that. So I did a lot of physical activity. But anyways, during this time period, I think I was in the best shape of my life. But I realized, looking back, that I put a lot of garbage in myself. And, even though I could eat what I wanted, it's not necessarily a good thing to do so. So recently I've actually started being a little bit more careful about my diet. Like I said, I was trying to gain weight during that period, but now I'm trying to tone that down. My goal is 180. I got up to 180, and right now I'm probably around 174 or so. But I've been targeting eating a lot healthier lately, and there are multiple reasons why you want to do this. Because you realize that if you continue on doing this, that's something that's going to affect you later in your life. That doesn't mean that you can't continue to enjoy things or to enjoy things that you eat. It just means to be a little bit more in control of it. Be a little bit more in control of what you put into yourself. I think about restaurants like Five Guys now, of course, and this is not just the calling restaurant. There are lots of places, but you think about these places where you get food and the bag is just soaking with grease. And I used to eat some of that. But then I started looking at it and I'm like, dude, you're putting this inside yourself. And of course, when you get done eating this, you feel like crap. And there's a reason why you feel like crap. There's a reason why you feel lazy. It's because of all that grease, and it's unhealthy. So, lately I've been a little bit more cautious about that. I'm trying to drop a few pounds now, maybe get back down to maybe 160 or so. But anyways, like I said, as you grow older, you will start to pay attention, a little bit more attention to your health, or at least you should. These things they're going to affect you in the later points of your life. And that doesn't mean that you should have fear about, I have to eat everything sugar-free now and all that sort of stuff. It just means to be a little bit more careful about your diet. So that's the physical side of things. So mentally, as I've grown older, of course, when you're a kid, when you're young, when you're, below your teen years or even in your teen years, you're not really thinking about things in life don't really bother you. You more so, you're in your own little world in a way. And that is the reason why I feel that a lot of us, and like I said before in other videos, I went through a depression starting off in those high school years. That was the result of perhaps things that had gone on in the years before then. And that is the reason why I feel that a lot of kids are vulnerable, especially during this time period, because you're in your world and you're it's not that you're self-centered, but you haven't really realized yourself as being a part of the world in general. You're more so in your own box in a way, and that's how things hurt you a little bit more. That's how you take offense to things a little bit more. That's how when your parents try to tell you that you're doing this wrong, or try to give you advice, that it's harder to take that in at this point in the period, because we started to feel like we know everything. We started to feel like we've had some experience in those sorts of things, and we just haven't yet. So this is a vulnerable period during our lives. The things that people tell us, the things that people say towards us, negative, positive, they have a huge impact on our lives during this stage of our lives. And like I said, we're more so internal. We're more so in our own minds in that way, and not realizing ourself as a part of a bigger world. But as I've grown older, that is one of the things that I've discovered. That's one of the things I've been able to connect with a little bit more. Up until now, I hear these news reports or events going on, people getting killed, suicides, mass murders, and all these insane things that, of course, perhaps have been going on before, but with media now, we're hearing about them a little bit more. I hear about these things, and now it bothers me a little bit more than it ever did before. It bothers me than more so than before. And I won't say that it didn't bother me before. I'll say that I didn't really put that much thought into it. Perhaps 10 years ago, 16, of course, at that point in time, if I heard something about some shooting or something, some bombing or something that had gone on, of course, it rendered with me that was a tragic event, and it was sad, but I didn't really think on it. I didn't really put much time into, thinking of what had exactly really happened here. Now, so when I hear about these things going on, my mind starts to, a little bit, it starts to think, these are real, these are people, just like you. These are other people with families, other people who, were going about their lives doing, what I do on a regular basis, just going about my life, doing what I'm doing, and perhaps going to work, going out to enjoy things, and they got caught up in some situation that was very unfortunate. They got caught up in a situation that was very unfortunate. And the thing is, this is something that, from the outside, when we hear about these things, it doesn't really connect with us because we're like, oh, it happened to them, or it can never happen to us. That's one of the things. We always feel like it never happened to us. But the people that that these things happen to, they've had those same thoughts. They've had those same thoughts. When you hear about car accidents, or when you're driving on the road and you see a car flipped over and you see an ambulance out there, it's like, you don't think about that's something that can happen to you. I'm a good driver. I'm paying attention on the road. I'm flawless. But then there are other variables that perhaps are out of your control. Other people driving recklessly on the road. Perhaps you can have a blowout on your tire or some sort of failure in your vehicle, and it can instantly happen to you at the same time. So when these things are happening, I sort of put myself in the shoes of someone who is near this. And this is not something that I intentionally do. It's something that just naturally happened, and I think about this in such a way that we're all connected in a way. And that's one of the things that I've noticed as I've grown older. I feel that connection with the world in general. When these things are happening on the, of course, I'm in the US. When these things are happening on the other side of the world, they somehow have an effect on me. They have an effect on us. As we grow older, these things have an effect on us. And, we suddenly don't feel so much in our own boxes. We don't feel as comfortable as we perhaps felt before, because all of a sudden we feel that connection with other people. We feel empathy a little bit more. We are able to experience their pain, the pain of their families as they go through these things, as they've lost their loved ones. It almost feels like you're losing someone yourself. We're all human beings. We're all connected, and we're all on this earth, and at least for right now, we're all on this earth, and these things that happen to other people, it's just not just other people. It's us as a whole. So as you grow older, that's one of the things you start to feel yourself as a part of the world in general. You'll start to feel that connection with other people, and suddenly it's not just someone on the opposite side of the planet. Suddenly that's a life. That's a part of you in a way. So these are things that, at least two things that I've noticed as I've grown older, that have become, a little bit more forefront in my attention in life. So another thing that I've noticed as I've grown older is I put more emphasis or focus on my purpose in life. I started to question life. Why am I here? What's my meaning for being here? So when I began college, I, of course, had this thought that, of course, I'm going to graduate and, learn as much as I can so that way I can get a good job and grow in the world, and enjoy, get a home, have a family, get my own piece of land, and enjoy these sorts of things. That was my vision. And that is a pretty good vision. I think that's a pretty good vision or thought process for someone to have when they're, starting college, to have that sort of focus. But, as when I was right after I graduated, when I got my first job, or my first full-time job, from the beginning, I started to question if that's what I really want to do all my life. It's not just that one particular job that I was questioning about. It was more so, of course, I'm in the IT industry. I start to question: is this what's going to bring happiness in life, or what else is there? That's what I start to feel. There's something missing. that, you know, even though I have a good job, I'm making a decent amount of money, something is missing. And it wasn't a person, it wasn't an object, or it wasn't a thing. Uh, it was, well, at that point in time, I didn't necessarily know. So I started to question a little bit more. As I said before, I had been questioning purpose in life. I had been questioning this a little bit more, you know, in the previous years before I even graduated. But after I graduated and I was out in the real world as it was, I say real world, we're all in the real world, but you know what I mean. I was out in the world, you know, more responsibilities to myself, not living with my parents. Um, that's when it start to become a little bit more important. This idea of a purpose, this idea of doing what you enjoy, doing a passion. So that is one of the things that I feel that as we grow older, we start to question that a little bit more. We start to question our place in this world. We start to question, you know, ourselves, our identity. You know, what is it that truly makes me happy? What is it that what sort of purpose do I have here? Now, I said before, I don't want to talk about this in such a way that, you know, even I had this thought that we all had some designated purpose. But that thought has changed over time. That's another thing. As you grow older, things just change. You know, the questions we ask ourselves change. The place we want to be in life change. The things we want to do, all these things change. But as like I said, as I've grown older, that is one of the things that is become a little bit more, you know, is become a little bit more important. So I've spoken about this before about how last year, that was when I really truly felt that I had chosen what I wanted to do in life. I chosen what I wanted to do in life. And of course it sounds vague, but that is to impact lives. That is to make a difference in the lives of other people. So it was very important that I discovered that, because then it allowed me to find a little bit more clarity about, all right, what do I need to do to accomplish this? What building blocks do I need to create to accomplish this? And I think that that's something that is, you know, of course, the quicker you find this out, the better, because then you're able to start building those blocks into achieving it. Then you'll realize, hey, you know, perhaps I can build this thing up over here, this wall, that, and then I'm going to separately start building on this wall over here, and through time they're going to interconnect and create that foundation and create that home. So of course, I feel that the earlier that you discover this, the better. But of course, we all discover at different points in times in our lives. We all discover our purpose. We all, or at least give ourselves a purpose. We all discover our passions. We discover those things at different points in times in our lives. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but what I'm saying is, whenever you discover it, that's the most important thing. So, and I think a lot of people may look back and say, I wish I had found this earlier. I wish I'd known this earlier. And I say that myself, but then you have to let go of that and just focus on the now and focus on moving forward. So that is another thing that I have as I've grown older. Purpose, passion, and doing something, serving other people has become a lot more important to me. And that is what I feel that was missing, or I felt that was missing at that point in time after I graduated. I hadn't discovered it at that time. I felt like it was close. Perhaps this was something that was brewing in my subconscious for all those previous years in which I was questioning life. I was questioning myself, questioning my identity. That thing was brewing in my life, and through my experiences, through that subconscious, you know, brewing of that idea, that is what led me to being able to find that just at the beginning of last year. That is what allowed me to choose that. So that's one of the things. As you grow older, you will start to question that a little bit more. So I feel like this video has gotten a little bit long, so perhaps I'll do a part 2 of this a little bit later. But for at least for now, that's what I want to talk about. Just a couple things that I have noticed as I've grown older, what it feels like growing older. And of course, you know, perhaps if you guys have some sort of experience that you want to share, or some enlightenment that you've learned throughout your process of growing, then I'd love to hear that. So please share that in the comments if you like, or if you'd like to. So anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and until next time, I will talk to you later.